morning students. Today we will study history chapter 2, okay, and in chapter 2 we will study about the new kings and the kingdoms, okay, page number 12. And in this chapters today we will discuss about the Gurjaras, the Rashtrakutas, the Palas, tripartite struggles, and the last one, invasion of Muhammad of Ghazni. So this is a very important and interesting chapters in this is actually the history, okay. So let's start the topics. So Indian subcontinent was a huge landmass and people were not aware of the extent and variety of cultures that existed. So India now also it is a huge landmass and it was a huge landmass of distinct variety of cultures existed during the previous times also, now also, right. So the peoples were not aware about the other cultures. So India that time was considered only a Hindu kingdom. So the peoples, the common peoples, they were unaware, they were not aware about the other cultures. But after the death of Harshavardhana, the kingdom, the whole united Indian subcontinent started to splitting into a small kingdoms after the death of Harshavardhana, okay. And these small kingdoms, small sovereign kingdoms were ruled by the feudal lords, nobles, feudal lords, okay, nobles. So these were the peoples who governed the country after the death of Harshavardhana, and these peoples, those peoples who ruled the small kingdom that split part of the Indian subcontinent were known as Samantas. Samantas, okay, remember the term and underline the term, it is mentioned in your book also, the same page, okay. So Samantas were the landlords, warriors, nobles who governed this small independent kingdom after the death of Harshavardhana, okay. Later again the Samantas, the rulers of the Samantas, the feudalers, the warriors, nobles, they declared themselves as an independent ruler and independent kingdoms, and that was known as Maha Samantas. Maha Samantas, okay. Samantas divided into the northern small kingdoms and they declared themselves as an independent ruler, independent kingdom, and known as the Maha Samantas. So these two terms are very important. So Samantas, who were they? They were the feudal lords or the nobles who governed the small independent kingdom after the death of Harshavardhana, and Samantas later they declared themselves as a independent ruler, independent kingdoms known as Maha Samantas. Example is given in your book, Danti Durga. This is a very famous name, we will learn later in the same chapter. Danti Durga. He was a Rashtrakuta ruler. He was a Rashtrakuta, a very powerful Rashtrakuta rulers who declared himself as an independent kingdoms or Maha Samantas by overthrowing the Chalukya king, and he performed a ritual also there that known as the famous in history as Hiranya. Underline the term Garva. Garva. This is a ritual performed by the ruler, Rashtrakuta ruler Danti Durga. So these are the examples of Samantas and Maha Samantas. Now turn your page, the most important part of these chapters, the Rashtrakutas, okay. Rashtrakutas, they were the rulers who ruled for about 3 centuries, 7th to 10th century CE, and they mainly occupied the southern part of India, namely Gujarat, Maharashtra, some parts of Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka. Some of the prominent Rashtrakuta rulers were Danti Durga, who was a very powerful and famous Rashtrakuta rulers. Krishna I and Dhruva underlined the name of the three Rashtrakutas rulers. Among them, Danti Durga was one of the prominent, powerful rulers of Rashtrakutas. The capital of this dynasty means Rashtrakuta dynasty, was in Maharashtra, Malkhed. Their capital was in Maharashtra, Malkhed. Underline the term, it is in your book only. So Rashtrakutas, who were the southern rulers who occupied the southern part of India, okay, their capital was in Maharashtra, Malkhed, and the famous prominent rulers of Rashtrakutas kingdoms were Danti Durga, Krishna I and Dhruva, but among them also Danti Durga was the most powerful ruler. And they were, especially, not only this ruler, the Rashtrakutas, these communities were the worshipper of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. They worshipped Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Understood? So Rashtrakutas, they were the worshippers of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu's famous temples that made from the rock cut. So that's why it is famous as rock cut temples. That was the temples of Ellora and Elephanta. These were the very famous architectures during the Rashtrakutas. Underline, the rock cut temples of Ellora and Elephanta are of these periods. In these temples, God has been represented in three forms as the creator, preserver and the destroyer. So, the Rashtrakuta rulers, they were also the worshipper of the Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu's, okay, and they constructed so many buildings, monuments, temples. Among them, the famous one is the rock-cut temples of Ellora and Elephanta. And the Rashtrakutas, they focused on the local self-government. Local self-government means like panchayats, municipalities, etc. So they focused especially in this local self-government to run their community, to run their kingdoms smoothly. Trade and commerce flourished. There were developments in the fields of the economics, and this area grew in wealth and prosperity. Means the Rashtrakuta kingdom during those periods were wealthy kingdom. Some Arab travelers described the Rashtrakutas as one of the best rulers of the world. Understood? Rashtrakutas. So Rashtrakutas, they were the rulers and especially dominated the southern part of India like Maharashtra, some parts of Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, etc. And their capital was in Malkhed, Maharashtra. The famous rulers, the powerful rulers were Danti Durga, Krishna I and Dhruva. Among them, Danti Durga was the most powerful rulers. The Rashtrakutas, they were the worshipper of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. And the famous temple, rock-cut temples of Ellora and Elephanta was the great achievements of the Rashtrakutas ruler. They mainly focused on the self-government, local self-government to run their kingdoms smoothly, and even the trade and commerce flourished during the Rashtrakuta periods. Understood? Now the next one is Gurjaras and Pratiharas. They were another communities. The dynasty of Gurjaras, Pratiharas is also known to have been in the power from 795 CE to 1040 CE. They ruled or they dominated the parts of Punjab, underline Rajasthan, UP, Gujarat, and Madhya Pradesh, the middle portions of the Indian subcontinent. Kannaus, Kannaus was the most important point. Kannaus, name of a place. Remember and underline this one. This is the central point for the whole chapter. Okay. So Kannaus was on the bank of the Ganga in the UP, which was their capital. Kannaus was the capital of Gurjaras. Malkhet in Maharashtra was the capital of Rashtrakuta, and Kannaus was the capital of Pratiharas, Gurjaras. And Kannaus was a very fertile land, favorable for the agricultures and cultivations, because it is on the bank of river. It is in the coastal areas. Coastal areas is favorable for the cultivations and agriculture that we know. So Kannaus, which was the capital of Gurjaras, Pratiharas, located on the bank of Ganga in UP, was the capital cities of Gurjaras and Pratiharas. The important rulers of Gurjaras, Pratiharas were Nagavatta, Vacharaja, Nagavatta II, Mihir-Bhaja, Mahendrapala and Rajyapala. They were the famous, powerful ruler of Gurjaras and Pratiharas. Mihir-Bhaja was the outstanding ruler of the dynasty. Underline this line, Mihir-Bhaja. Like Danti Durga during Rashtrakuta's ruling, Mihir-Bhaja was the most powerful and prominent rulers of Gurjaras and Pratiharas. The Pratihara received a severe blow in the year 10,019 CE when they were attacked and defeated by the forces of Mahmud of Ghazni, and the dynasty came to an end. Gurjaras, Pratiharas came to an end with the invasions of the Muhammad of Ghazni. Now the next important dynasty is Pala dynasty, and the founder of Pala dynasty was Gopala. Gopala was the founder of the Pala dynasty, and the last ruler was Ramapala or Rampala. You can write Ramapala also, Rampala also. So Pala dynasty was founded by Gopala, and their capital was at Pataliputra. Underline. Okay, Pataliputra, right now it is in Bihar. So the famous rulers of Pala dynasty, they were Dharmapala, Devpala and even Rampala. The kingdom, the Pala kingdom, included the parts of Bengal, some parts of Assam, Bihar and Orissa, and they were the good administrators and warriors. So there are three important dynasties we have discussed right now. Rashtrakutas, they occupied the southern portions of the Indian subcontinent. Among them, Danti Durga, there were three important prominent rulers that is mentioned in your books. Danti Durga, Dhruva, Krishna first. Among them, Danti Durga was the very powerful ruler, and their capital was in Malkhet in Maharashtra, and they were the worshipper of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Gurjaras, Pratiharas, their capital was at Kannaus. Kannaus was considered as a very fertile land, favorable for the agricultures, especially cultivations, because it was located on the bank of Ganga, river Ganga. And the next was the Palas. It was founded by Gopala, the famous ruler. The most prominent rulers of Pala dynasty were Devapala, Rampala, Gopala, etc. So these three dynasties, or the ruler of this dynasty, they were very powerful, okay, and they were often fighting with each other to capture Kannaus. Okay, So why Kanauj? Because Kanauj was a fertile Doab land of river Ganga. So these three dynasties, Gurjara Pratihara, Rashtrakutas and Palas, fought with each other to acquire the control over Kanauj. Kanauj was considered as a hub power on the fertile plains of northern India. It was an important center and trade and agriculture flourished in this area. So the main reasons to capture Kanauj because it was a hub power and it was favorable for the agricultures. It was a matter of prestige to ruling over Kanauj. So that's the reasons these three dynasties rulers, they were fighting to capture or to acquire Kanauj. And this battle between these three dynasties came to be known as tripartite struggle. Tripartite, three powers, they fought to capture Kanauj. Understood? This is a very important topic, tripartite struggle. So, for Kanauj to acquire or to capture or to dominate Kanauj, they fought with each other, and these fightings, these battles is famous in history as tripartite struggle. Since their armies, these three dynasties' armies were near equal in capabilities. Okay, so there was no definite victors. Yes, the battle came to an end finally, but there were no definite victors. So after the battles, they lost so many people's warriors, and even their financial support, their treasury became empty. So the other kingdoms, other small dynasties started to rise, like Rajputs, Chauvans, Chauhanas, etc. The Rajputs, now after the tripartite struggle, another independent kingdom, Mahasamantas, that were the Rajputs, who were considered as the sons of rulers. They were known to be the two descendants, the sun and the moon gods. In the northern part of India, Rajputs play a very important role. These three dynasties, they ruled the southern part of India, almost southern part of India, and the Rajputs, they ruled the northern part of India. They established many independent kingdoms, Samantas, Mahasamantas. There were no central controlling authority which would bring them together into a single unit or empire. Some of the prominent Rajput kingdoms were underlined: the Chauhans of Ajmer and Delhi, Paramars of Malwa regions, Rathors of Kanauj, and Sisodiyas of Mewar. They were the prominent Rajput kingdom during those periods. Next were the Chauhans. The Chauhans were another kingdom. They were also known as Chahamanas. Chahamanas and Chauhans, they were the same. Okay, so the Chauhans were also known as Chahamanas, who were the feudalers. They were actually the feudalers, Samantas. Okay, after the death of Harshavardhana, they ruled the countries. So these actually Chauhans were the Samantas. Samantas means the feudalers or the nobles or the warriors. They established their kingdom first in Ajmer in the 11th century and later acquired control over Delhi. So slowly they shifted towards the northern part of India. Tomars and shifted their capital to Delhi. Prithviraj Chauhan was the most famous ruler. Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan. He was the most prominent ruler of the Chauhans. He was a Hindu king. He established the Hindu kingdom in the northern part of India, northern subcontinent. Okay, so Prithviraj Chauhan was the most famous ruler of this dynasty, Chauhan's dynasty. So we get to know about him from the epic poem Prithviraj Raso, written by his court poet Chand Bardai. Underline. Prithviraj Raso was a small epic written by his court poet Chand Bardai. Underline. He fought 2 battles at Tarain. Right now Tarain is in Haryana, right there in your book. So Tarain, it's present in Haryana with Muhammad Ghori. So he fought Prithviraj Chauhan. He fought 2 battles with Muhammad Ghori, and with the entry of Muhammad Ghori, with the invasions of Muhammad Ghori in India, the Muslim dynasty started to begin in India. So 2 battles took place in Tarain. That was in 1191 and 1192. Write it down. The first battle of Tarain in 1191, and the second battle at 1192 with Muhammad Ghori. This is very important. 2 dates. Remember the dates. These are the timelines. So the first battle that took place in 1191, Prithviraj united some Rajput kings to face Muhammad Ghori. The first battles he fought with Muhammad Ghori was in the year 1191. But unfortunately, Muhammad Ghori defeated in the battle. Remember, in the first battle of Tarain, Muhammad Ghori defeated. Okay, but again, in the very next year, in 1192, another battle took place at the same place at Tarain only, and in this attack Prithviraj Chauhan with the motives of revenge and to establish control of India, but he lost the battles. Okay, so the Muhammad Ghori finally in the second battle of Tarain won the northern part of India. The second battle of Tarain was fought in 1192. Muhammad Ghori attacked the kingdom of Prithviraj Chauhan again with the motive revenge and to establish control over India, and this time he had organized a better cavalry and army. So the Prithviraj again formed a confederation, but this time Jaichand, instead of joining the battle from the side of Rajput, is said to helped Ghori. Ultimately Prithviraj was captured and slain. So with the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarain in 1192, the Muslim invasion started in India. Although another Turkish ruler during that time only, Muhammad of Ghazni, he had also attacked India several times. And remember, Muhammad of Ghazni, who was a Turkish ruler, Turkish ruler. He invaded India several times and he plundered India 17 times. Note it down. These are very important questions, not only for your class 7, class 8, in your further board exams also. These are the most important questions. So Muhammad of Ghazni invaded India several times. He plundered India 17 times and he carried away a vast wealth from India to his kingdom, which make India totally empty. So this is the most important. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni of Afghanistan ruled from 997 CE to 1030 CE. Mahmud of Ghazni attacked the subcontinent India 17 times in search of wealth. Underline, it is written in your book also, underline. So he mainly attacked the temple towns such as Somnath, which was a wealthy temple, Nagarkot, Mathura's temple, Kanauj and other. He was of the belief that all the wealth and the gold of India was hidden in the temple. So he believed that the maximum or almost all the wealth of India was hidden in the temple. So that's why he mainly plundered, looted the temples of India, especially Somnath temples, Kanaus, Mathuras temples, etc. He wanted the wealth to support his own kingdom and his army. So he reconstructed his army by the wealth of India's that he plundered. He repeated successful attacks show how Indian kings were very weak and indefensible. Sultan Mahmud was a patron of art and cultures as well. He was a founder of the art and cultures. So Muhammad of Ghazni, he was a Turkish ruler who invaded India 17 times, plundered India's wealth. He carried away the wealth of temples, especially Somnath temples, the Mathuras temples. He carried away to his own kingdoms to reconstructed his army. So this is how the India was plundered before the British Empire. During this time, there are some important topics given to the topics given to the Indian rulers. For example, Maharaj, Dhiraj, Parmeshwara, these were the titles assumed by the king himself, underlined, and that time kingship was hereditary. We all know kingships were hereditary. And after the invasions of Muhammad of Ghazni, the royal treasury became empty. India's treasury became empty. So the small independent kingdoms, they require some funds, some money to run, to construct the armies, yes, to maintain the cavalry. So that's why the kings again, they started to collect the taxes from the farmers, the small peasants, and even from the artisans and traders. So this is how Muhammad of Ghazni, he invaded India and plundered India, and he plundered India 17 times. I hope you all have understood the chapters. So learn the chapters thoroughly at once. This is not a lengthy chapter, it's a very small chapter, and this is the beginning of history for your further studies, and this is the just before the pre-era of the British dominance in India. Thank you. Now let's do the exercises of the same chapter. Your first question was choose the correct option. Number 1, Mihir Bhoja was the outstanding ruler of Gurjaras Pratiharas. Number 2, a ritual called Hiranyagarbha was performed by Rashtrakuta chief Danti Durga. Next number 3, the outstanding ruler of the Pratiharas was Mihir Bhoja. Number 3, 1 Mihir Bhoja. Number 4, the capital of Rashtrakuta was Malkhed. Number 4, Malkhed. And number 5, Pala dynasty was founded by King Gopala. Number 6, the Palas established their kingdom in Bengal. Number 7, Vikramashila University was established by King Dharmapala. Next question, the Tripartite struggle took place to acquire the control over Kanauj. Number 9, Battle of Tarang took place between Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori. Number 10, Muhammad of Ghazni raided India 17 times. Next one, number 11, the capital of Cholas was, that is Thanjavur. Okay. Number 12, who got the title of Gangai Gonda Chola? That was Rajendra I. This is first. Okay. And the last one, number 13, the directly governed region of Chola kingdom was divided into district that was known as Nadus. Next one, fill in the blanks. Number 1, Pratiharas were attacked and defeated in 1019 CE by the forces of Muhammad Ghazni. Next one, the last ruler, Karka II of the which dynasty? Rashtrakuta dynasty. Number 3, the Palas received a blow at the hand of Vijayasena, that Sena dynasty. Number 4, Rajputs were known to be the two descendants that were sun and the moon. Number 5, the second battle of Tarin that was fought in 1192. Number C, state whether true or false. Number 1, the first question, the dynasty of Gurjara Pratihara was in power from 10th century CE to 12th century. That is false. Okay. Number 2, the Chauhans were the feudatories of Palas. That also false. Number 3, Prithviraj Chauhan fought 2 battles at Tarin with Muhammad Ghori. That is true. Number 4, the capital of the Palas was at Patliputra in modern day Bihar. True. The last one, Prithviraj Raso was written by Chand Bardai. That is also true. And the last one, that is match the following. Okay, number 1, Brideshwara temple. That is Cholas. You have to match with Cholas. You can write like that also. Otherwise, you can put the number here, write the number here. Then you can match the columns. Okay. Next one, bronze sculpture. Rajaraja first, Rashtrakutas, Malkhet, Vikramshila, Palas, Bakhtiyar Khalji. That is Turkish invader. Question number E. Number 1 question. Who were Samantas? The subordinates of the king were either big landlords or warrior chiefs and were known as Samantas. They were required to govern smaller portions of a kingdom. Number 2 questions. Name 2 Brahmins who became kings. 2 Brahmins who became kings. They are Kadamba, Mayura Sharman. While pronouncing it, do like that and read it out. Okay, Mayura Sharman in Karnataka and Harishchandra in Rajasthan. Number 3, name some prominent rulers of the Rashtrakuta dynasties. Some of the prominent Rashtrakuta rulers were Danti Durga, Krishna I and Dhruva. Number 4, who founded the Pala dynasty? Name the areas which were the part of this dynasty. Pala dynasty was founded by Gopala, King Gopala. So this kingdom included the parts of Assam, Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Number 5, what was the contributions of King Dharmapala to the field of learning? Vikramshila University. Vikramshila University was established by King Dharmapala, which became a famous center of learning. It attracted the students even from the other parts of the world. This university had a large and extensive library. Bengali literature also grew under their patronage. Number 6 question, name some prominent Rajput kingdoms. Some of the prominent Rajput kingdoms were the Chauhans of Ajmer and Delhi, Parmars of Malwa, Rathors of Kannauj and Sisodiyas of Mewar. Question number 7. Why did Muhammad of Ghazni attack temple towns in India? Muhammad of Ghazni attacked temple towns because he was of belief that all the wealth and gold of India was hidden in the temples and he wanted the wealth to support his own kingdom. Number 8. Why did kings need money? The kings needed money to finance their administrative employees and maintain the army and to work for the welfare of the society. Number 9. What were the activities associated with the Chola temples? Answer, Chola temples were not only religious places but were the centers of social economic activities as well. Over a period of time, small settlements of garland makers, potters, craftspersons, etc. came up around the temples and the people started taking care of the needs of the pilgrims. Question number E, that is long questions. Question number 1, write down the duties of the Samantas. How did they gain independence from the kings? Samantas were required to govern smaller portions of a kingdom, they were supposed to give gifts to the kings. They were required to attend the courts of the king and provide military support when required. With the time, the Samantas amassed lot of wealth and power, and they started to receive their kings to become independent, declared themselves as Mahasamantas. You can underline the term, okay, Mahasamantas. A famous example of this, in case of Danti Durga, Rashtrakuta chief who overthrew the Chalukya king and performed a ritual called Hiranya Garva. Some examples are the cases of Kadamba, Mayura Sharman, pronounced like that. Separate the two different words here, Mayura Sharman, okay. Cases of Kadamba, Mayura Sharmans in Karnataka and Gurjara, Pratihara, Harishchandra in Rajasthan. This is Hiranya Garba, okay, underline it. You can check the spellings in your book also, Hiranya Garba, okay. So underline it. You can underline, this is case, write it properly, case, okay, case, Pratihara, Gurjaras, Pratiharas, Harishchandra in Rajasthan. Question number 2, write down the achievements of Rashtrakutas. Achievement of Rashtrakutas. The construction of temples came up in big way. The rock cut temples of Ellora and Elephanta are of these periods. In these temples, God has been represented in 3 different forms: creator, destroyer and the preserver. Number 2, local self-government played an important role. A number of committees were formed to administer different affairs. The king also took a lot of interest in administration and supervised the work from time to time. Number 3, trade and commerce also flourished. There were developments in the field of economics and this area grew in wealth and prosperity. Number 3 questions, name the dynasties that fought with each other to acquire control over canals. Give reasons for the conflict and what was the result. The dynasties that fought with each other to acquire control over canals, they were the Gurjaras, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas. So they fought with each others. Canals was considered as a hub of power on the fertile plains of the northern India. It was an important center for trade and agriculture. So thus it was a matter of prestige to be ruling canals, especially for them. The 3 dynasties kept fighting with each other and it got the name of tripartite struggle. So these battles was famous in history as tripartite struggles. Since their armies were near equal in capabilities, so there were no definite victors. Number 4, explain in details the rise and fall of the Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan was the most famous ruler. He fought 2 battles at Tarin with Muhammad Ghori. Number 1, that first battle of Tarin in 1191, second battle of Tarin that took place in 1192. So the first battle of Tarin took place in 1191. He united some Rajput rulers to face Muhammad Ghori. Unfortunately, Jaichans did not join this confederation. Confederation means the alliance, okay. Ghori was wounded and defeated, which caused his army to flee. The second battle again fought in 1192. This time he had organized a better cavalry and army. Prithviraj again formed a confederation, but Jaitan, instead of joining Rajputs, helped Ghori. So ultimately Prithviraj was captured and slain. Question number 5. what do you know about Chola administrations? The Chola rulers devised a well-structured administrative system. The king was the head of administration. The kingdom was divided into two categories. The directly governed regions were again subdivided into nadus and kurams. The lower level administrations was conducted by self-government, local self-government. There were 4 types of assemblies, and these assemblies were the number 1, the natas. This assembly looked after the civic problems. Next one, the nagaras. These looked after the trade only, trade and commerce. Next number 3, the Mahasabha. It was a representative assemblies of villagers. And number 4, the Ur. You can pronounce it as Ur also, U-R. Okay, Ur. This was a gathering of villagers which discussed the matter of common interest. Question number 6. Chola rulers took interest in agriculture. What steps were taken by them to improve irrigations? Agriculture played an important role during Chola dynasty. The Kaveri river and the delta formed by it close to the Bay of Bengal had very fertile land around it. So due to the availability of water, people were even able to grow 2 different types of crops in a year. The rulers took interest in developing and improving the irrigation facilities which helped to boost productions. Wells were also dug to have subsoil water. So reservoirs and embankments were constructed at various places to prevent flooding or to channelize water through canals. So these are the question answers exercises of this chapter, chapter 2, New Kings and Kingdoms. So you can get these answers in your books also, spellings, everything checked from books, and even from the school website you can get the answers. Thank you.